We're going to go an extra hour because we got a lot to talk about. Patriots, free agency. I don't want to say in the books, right? This trickles really all the way through training camp, adding players, but the bulk of free agency in the books, the Patriots were certainly busy. They made a number of signings, also some moves they didn't make in the headlines as well, and we will get into all of it, plus your call, 617-779-0985. Again, it's Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle, Ryan Garvin producing for us this morning. Cerrone, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm feeling pretty good. It's feeling good about this team and the way they're heading right now. But I'm in a good space, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. It was a good week. You know, maybe they scared us a little bit those first few hours into thinking, think a 3-hour show on Sunday. I haven't had anybody, but they got it going. Second, third day, I think, is when they did the bulk of their work. But ultimately, like you said, I feel pretty good. We'll talk about that again here over the next 3 hours. We'll get into some of the specific players, the big picture stuff. Obviously, take a look ahead towards the draft and how this week kind of impacted the draft outlook. We will touch on the A.J. Brown of it all. Again, plus your call, 617-779-0985. But I want to start big picture just for to get caught up here. The Patriots signings so far. Wide receiver Romeo Doubs, guard Elijah Vera Tucker, edge rusher Draymond Jones, safety Kevin Byard, fullback Reggie Gilliam, safety Mike Brown, and Julian Hill, for some I'm just reading off overthecap.com. Tight end Julian Hill, not on this list, but they did add a tight end as well in Julian Hill. And now I want to pull up a new list because I realize this is missing one. But I'll make sure we didn't miss any. I think we got all of them. Big picture, and Elliot Wolf was asked this question first off in his press conference on Thursday, and I think it's kind of the question that you discuss this time of year, this week, every year. All right, and it's, last year it was a definitive yes because they were really starting from the bottom up. But at this point, are the Patriots a better team right now, or are they in a position to be a better team right now? And I can explain that more in a second than they were when they walked off the field in San Francisco in February.
I think everybody being healthy, let's just say everybody's 100% across the board. This Patriots team, yes, I do feel they're a better team, and they're better in. It seems like let's say in key spots. I think their run game would be better, and their run defense is better. I think we talked a lot about them in the trenches, and just being good up front, not just the linemen, but the linebackers and the running backs on flip sides there, but. I think they're better in that area of the football team, and I think that makes them I don't say a lot better. I think that makes them a better squad than what they had when they rolled out there in January. And I know that's hard to say in February, because the team was in the Super Bowl, but some of the pieces I think they've added were pieces that I absolutely would have helped them if they were playing that Super Bowl again tomorrow. So I on that alone, I say yes, this is a better football team.
The one I missed, KJ Britt, the linebacker, which has not been announced yet. That's why he wasn't on the list. And Jesse Lucetta, who they actually signed before free agency started. He was a street free agent. So I think they're definitely in position to be better. And I'm still a little iffy with where they're at on the edge. Mm-hmm. But I think they can get where they need to be realistically in the draft.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of doing it. So I think that they're about the same. There were a lot of, they replaced a lot of the guys they lost. They made a couple of additions. Once we get to the draft, I think they're definitely in a position to come back with a better team, and you count on internal growth too. So that's the big thing to me. The draft is still looming there, and I don't know that there ever really is a scenario where it's hey, they had such a good free agency, the draft doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I don't want to act like there was a way they could have done that realistically. But that's kind of where I'm at. Is I like what they did. I think they've built a good foundation, but the draft's really going to have to hammer it home for them, I think, to put the bow on this offseason. But I think they've done well as they work to restore the roster. This is our Restoring the Roster segment brought to you by Blue Sky Restoration Contractors. Water damage at your home or business? Our guys at Blue Sky are ready to respond 24/7. So visit goblusky.com, no E, blusky.com, and they'll take care of everything from beginning to end. Blue Sky Restoration, restoring your property and your life for a brighter tomorrow. That's goblusky.com. Just in terms of what they did, so we both feel pretty good about the big picture in free agency and about what they've added. Was it what you expected?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I expected them to do something. I didn't know where they were gonna, make the additions. I didn't know who they were gonna add. We all had our guys. We all focused a lot on the receiver, and I think that's our fault for doing that. We wanted the big play, the big name guy, the skill position guys, but they went the opposite way. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't try. They probably absolutely they were in on Alec Pierce, but he made his decision, and maybe some other guys, but. We've talked for the last couple of years about adding a veteran free safety back there, a good player. They did that. Bringing back one of the real fullbacks, some run blocking tight end type guys. They addressed that. I understand that Jamont Jones is not, he's not Michael Parsons out there on the outside, but I think a guy that's coming in at 280 pounds or whatever is a good play that could set the edge for this team and kind of help other guys kind of get to the court. I mean, the kid had 24, 25 QB hits, but I think his size and his ability to set the edge is what they look for there. But I think they address true needs on this team. I know we want the big guy on the outside, but adding a guard like they did, I understand he has health issues. Tucker's been through it, but when he's healthy, everybody says even around the league that this man is a legit guard on the line. He play a lot on the right side, but wherever they stick him, I think he's going to make an impact on this team when he's out there. So I think they address the offensive line. They address helping the run game out, and they address setting an edge, stopping the run. We all saw the Super Bowl, and that key position in the back of that secondary. I think that's a huge pickup for this team and makes that pass defense go from really good to possibly being elite if everybody's healthy across the board.
Yeah, the one thing I wasn't expecting them to do as much that they did, and you kind of hit on it there. In retrospect, it makes sense. Just bolstering the run game. And we'll get more into this as the show goes on, but I think everybody got so caught up in the pass game last year because Drake May was having this breakout season, and I get it. And, you didn't really want to talk about taking the ball out of Drake May's hands, but they got a little too one-dimensional down the stretch.
Yeah, got predictable.
And it's because I don't think it was by choice. I think it was because they had no sustainable run game. Travion Henderson would break a big run every 10 or 15 carries, but there was really nothing besides that, and there was nothing for teams to worry about outside of that. And so you come back this year, I think they're going to have a more sustained run game that is going to help Drake May. It's going to open up more opportunities in play action. They're just going to be less one-dimensional. So I think that's going to be a benefit to them as well, that they hammered that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that's so key for them, and it's a major need. Like you said, I mean, Travion Henderson, we know about his big playability, but we all, early in the season especially, they weren't great in red zone situations when they got inside the 5. We were all talking about, them lining up in shotgun from inside the 5 in the red zone and just 3rd and 1, whatever. And they're relying on bringing in D tackles to help run block. But if you have guys out there that can move people and make sure you get those runs where you're 3, 4, 5 yards when someone touches you, not just Travion Henderson with his speed, but Ramondre Stevenson as well. The last few years with him, we all talk about how everything he did was after contact and just trying to get people out there so this man can get 3 yards, 4 yards before he even touches it. For someone who touches him, I think was huge for them. And because of that, like you mentioned, it now opens up the play action game. It opens up the ability for tight ends to get open behind it, guys to get downfield. I know they had a lot of big plays in the pass game, but I think it just makes them more of a balanced team. It's something you have to worry about. And pulling Reggie Gilliam away from the Bills doesn't hurt either. It kind of makes them a little weaker on their run game and improves you. So I'll take that anytime, any day of the week.
I was trying to figure this out this week, and I went back. I was working on this with Taylor Kiles from CLNS Media. We went back more than 10 years. We couldn't find it. So if anybody out there knows, the last time the Patriots signed a player immediately from, so they'd signed players who played for all 3 teams at some point in their career, but signed a player immediately from all 3 division opponents in the same offseason, in the same free agency, especially like 3, Julian Hill, maybe not quite on the same level, but like Elijah Vera Tucker, starter from the Jets. Reggie Gilliam, like you just said, starting fullback from the Bills. They, Hill got a 3-year deal. It's up to $18 million. We still don't have the guaranteed money yet. So we'll see. Maybe that thing's just heavily, heavily loaded with incentives. But like those are 3 guys I think you expect to make the team. the last time the Patriots had a guy they expected to make the team in terms of free agent signings from each divisional opponent. Again, I went back to 2012. I couldn't find it. Definitely some years where there were two. There were some years where they signed a ton of Bills or a ton of Jets. Not as many Dolphins. I don't necessarily know why that is. And I don't think it's just because, the Dolphins weren't good. Because, again, there were some years where they signed a ton of Jets. But I don't know. I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think they went out there and they were like, let's raid the division. But it is more common for teams to sign players out of the division. They're just more familiar with them. Like, there's a pattern for that around the NFL. But, yeah, three, somewhat notable signings. Three guys you expect to kind of make the team right away from each of the three division opponents. It's been a while since they've done that. So that's a neat thing. Again, if anybody has that, 617-779-0985. I do want to get it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, I was just going to add in, they also signed a couple guys from a couple teams they played this season as well. They got a guy from the Packers, they got a guy from the Bears. So, I mean, I don't know if that plays into it. They just happen to be on the schedule, but it doesn't hurt to sign the guy that led the Bears in turnovers and you play them this season at home. But, hey, I like it, so it is what it is.
I want to get into some of those players. You mentioned the guy they signed from the Packers. He's probably the one that will get talked about the most because it's just out of position. The Patriots fans and everybody around the NFL loves to talk about, so we'll start there and kind of roll through some of these big free agent signings here. It's a 3-hour edition of Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub. Hey, Boston, cheers.
After that release, Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle. After that release, Cerrone, we talked about how, okay, well, now we know they kind of want the big outside jump ball 50-50 guy because that guy's stylistically a fit with Drake May. But they have this need in the slot as well, that volume role that Stephon Diggs had played. And I think Doubs fills the latter. And I think the idea is he's going to grow into that role. And this is a case, to me, of the Patriots paying for potential, just like they did with Milton Williams last year. Romeo Doubs coming off a career year, 55 catches, 724 yards, 6 touchdowns. He will turn 26 next month. So you put him, another year older. You put him in an offense that is going to play to his strengths well, that's going to give him some more volume, and you hope he can match the 1,000 yards that Diggs had last year. I think that's most likely to play in here. I know Elliott Wolfton closed the door on Diggs coming back, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But I still feel like if there was a way to get that done, they would have restructured his contract. I don't know. Maybe he hits free agency and suddenly the market he thought was there isn't there. But Romeo Doubs is a guy to me that can step into that role and I think play it at the level they need it played.
Yeah, I think he can too. And one thing I was looking up this morning, just looking up some notes, I didn't realize that Stephon Diggs are all the guys who got a certain amount of reps, targets, if we want to call it. Stephon Diggs had the lowest yards per reception of all the starting receivers on this team, all the guys who played receiver. He's below Matt Collins. He was below the tight ends. He's below Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas. Of course, Booty was way up there, Kyle Williams, and F. Chisholm was 20, 25 yards a catch, whatever it was. But he was below Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, who were both at 12.8 and 12.5 yards of reception. Diggs was at 11.9, one of the lowest on the team. So he basically, he was there to move the chains. I think he had 51 first downs or something like that. But I think his Romeo Doubs' role, to me, was similar to what Diggs was in Houston when Nico Collins and Tank Dell. I think they kind of spread it around a lot. Diggs was on pace to get a high volume because I think Tank Dell got hurt that year. So Diggs' volume started picking up, and then he got hurt. But I think the role was very similar. Romeo Doubs' role in Green Bay, similar to what Diggs was doing in Houston. And I think once Doubs gets to New England, his role will be similar to what Diggs was here. So I think it's very similar to what they're doing. The difference is he's 25, 26 years old, whatever it is. He's a younger guy. Everyone's referenced his health. It looks like he struggles getting up sometimes after taking some big shots. But I think, again, like you said, they're paying for the upside. And He was in a situation in Green Bay where Green Bay was 27th in pass attempts. They didn't throw the ball a lot. And I think here he'll get a little more volume, a little more he'll get a lot more targets being that guy they want on the outside. But I think he'll be all over the field and will have potential for more big plays as the season goes on. I think he finds the end zone. I believe he's really good in the red zone.
Yes.
Not saying Diggs wasn't, but I think he complements what they need. What's a theme we've been going with all the guys that they've signed this offseason so far. Absolutely,
red zone help. What you talked about in the last segment was something that they needed and something that they filled. And then I think too, like he can fill that Stephon Diggs role. Yes. And he's a bigger player. When you talk about these slot guys at 5'10", 5'11", it's kind of seemed like Drake May likes throwing to the bigger receivers. Mm-hmm. Romeo Doubs is 6'2", 204. You're not really getting his good catch radius. You're really not getting much bigger than 6'2" on the inside. Yeah. Any taller than that, it's tough to move the way you need to move to play at that position.
And guys get killed across the middle.
Right.
And he's too tall.
You mentioned the health thing. Like, he's a little slow getting up sometimes, but he does play.
Yeah.
He's played at least 13 games every year of his NFL career, 59 games total over the last 4 years. So he gets on the field.
Yeah, and when he's been targeted, he had a couple games where he was targeted 9 times. Whatever. The playoffs, he was targeted 11 times. He produced. He performed. It was freezing cold, and that man still went over 100 yards, got in the end zone, had 10 catches, whatever it is. And you want a guy that can play in those elements because you can sometimes run into times where you get a guy from who's been in the dome his whole career, and then you get him in New England in January, like, man, this guy can't catch a thing. He doesn't play the same. This guy can deal with the elements. He can play against good defenses. And you see Minnesota twice, teams that really get after it. So I think he's a good pickup. And because of his age, I think he's an upgrade over Diggs. Not saying he's better than Diggs, but at this point in their careers, I think he has a potential to be better than Stephon Diggs.
The thing with him that I'm interested in, and I heard you and Felger doing this on Thursday, and it's an interesting conversation. Like, he can step in for Diggs' role. Is he that coverage dictating, true top of the depth chart wide receiver?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Dare I go no? And you guys ran through the exercise. And Elliot Wolf had the comment this week about, you don't always need that true number one wide receiver. Not every team has one. How many you went through, the receiving leaders? How many did you guys get to? Like 9 or 10?
Man, maybe 10. We were fighting after 7, man. It's not as many. I think we both were surprised that it's not as many as we actually thought there are in the league.
I did this exercise on one of the CLNS podcasts the other day, too. And even if you want to throw in Trey McBride and Christian McCaffrey, who kind of do that from different positions, like we were scraping, and I think we got to 13 if you're being like very generous.
Yeah, well, you start adding in the rookies like Ted McMillan in Carolina. When you were getting down that far before you're like, wait a minute now. It really felt like there was 20 of them. But it's really not that many.
So, like, not saying they have to have that guy, but I think they're still looking for that guy. You're going to ultimately try to put Doubs with somebody. I think they can get by this year. To me, there's more variance, but I think they're kind of set up to be the same at wide receiver. Mm-hmm. If Doubs takes the step that he realistically should take and fills in Diggs' production, you should get some internal growth from Kyle Williams. Mm-hmm. And then you're just kind of back where you were, which is fine. It's a lot better than they were 2 or 3 years ago. Like, it's a representative wide receiver room. Now, if they can add an A.J. Brown, now you're really cooking with gas.
Now you're running,
Right, you're up to the next level, and we can get into that a little more later. But that's, they lost out on Alec Pierce, which he signed 2 minutes in free agency. He was always going back to the Colts. It's tough to fault the team for missing on a free agent when that guy just goes back to the team that he was with, especially when it's that quick.
Yeah.
So that's my one thing with Doubs. But I think he fits the puzzle really well. I think I mentioned this a few times last week, the old Belichickism of it's not about collecting talent, it's about building a team. Mm-hmm. Romeo Doubs to me is like a building a team addition. He fits in the puzzle very nicely.
Yeah, and one player comp, I know is not the same. I don't think he's as big, doesn't have the arm length. But it reminds me of a lot of the Patriots signing Brandon LaFell. I think that type of guy, 700, he had like 900 yards as a Patriot, but he was there to make the big plays. He had the plays downfield. He had the plays across the middle, long arms, good hands. I think he's a similar comp to that. You didn't bring him in. You didn't expect him to be a 1,300-yard receiver, but you expected him to make plays. And Brandon LaFell did. When he was out there, he was a very good player for the Patriots. And I can see this is a very similar move. That Brandon LaFell, or I know this guy I think has the greatest hands of football, Brandon Lloyd, like that type of signing, that type of receiver. You're not bringing him in to be Randy Moss, but you're bringing him in to be a good guy on the outside and kind of move around the field.
617-779-0985. You want to join us? The Patriots also made an addition on the offensive line. Talked about, Doubs being kind of a steady player. This is a little more risk reward here. So we'll talk about that next as we keep moving through our Patriots free agency recap on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
85% of people will experience
needed to sign a left guard, or we seemed clear they needed to sign a left guard. We'd laid out the case, adding a veteran in between Will Campbell and Jared Wilson instead of a rookie and getting really young on that left side would be beneficial. Some of the reporting out of the combine was they weren't super involved in the veteran guard market. But then late on Monday night, they got this one just under the wire of day one. They signed Elijah Vera Tucker, who's an interesting signing. So I had been saying they should sign that guard. I was lukewarm on Vera Tucker. Not because I don't think he's a good player, but the headline here, and it's what Elliot Wolf addressed in that clip, is injuries. He's played a total of 43 games in the last 5 years. And since playing 16 games, as a rookie, played 7 games in 2022, played 5 games in 2023. Those were a torn triceps and an Achilles injury. I forget which was which. I can pull that up in a second.
He did it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Then played 15 games in 2024. And then tore his triceps again last year before he could play a game and missed the whole season. It was, I shouldn't say game, it was different triceps. He's torn each one time. So he did say when we talked to him on Thursday that he still has some limitations right now, but the expectation is those will be off the table come spring practices, so he should be good to go once they put the helmets on and they get out there. When he plays, he's one of the better guards in the league. And I think he's a good fit for what they want to do. It's just, is he going to be on the field? That's something we're going to talk about all year, Cerrone.
Yeah, it's just going to be a thing with him. I think he's going to be another guy you're looking at after every play. You see who's slow getting up, and you're going to be looking at him like, oh, man, he's down. But then he hops up. Yeah, we're going to be watching that. Unless he just comes out, he gets through camp with no problems. He gets through preseason. We're 5-6 weeks in, and you haven't had any problems from him. And I think by then we'll finally stop really focusing on that part of his game. But that's going to be the big question over him. And Elliot Wolf just mentioned, all we feel good about him is the type of injuries. I guess they're looking and saying, well, as long as it's not his knees, we'll give it a shot. And I had that's where I kind of read that. Well, he didn't blow his ACL, so he's good to go. He doesn't need those arms anyway. That's why he's playing guard. But it just seems like, they looked at all the medicals. He can make 100% recovery from these injuries. But when he's out there, I mean, he's a good football player. And I think one thing here of why they signed him and not another guy is the relationship with Morgan Moses. You've seen the clips out there of Moses when he was in New York praising him and talking about what kind of teammate he is, what kind of player he is. And I think that played a huge part of it. I'm pretty sure they made a phone call, shot a message to Mo, hey, man, what do you think about this guy? And he probably was like, man, go get him. He's a good football player. He's going to be good for the young guys if you put him at left guard between the two young players. And I think they all feel he's going to help everybody out on that offensive line. And again, if the offensive line is strong, Drake May's not getting hit as much as he was last year. He has more time in the pocket. Now you have big plays, and it elevates everybody else on that offense. So I think it's a good move for them. High risk, high reward situation. But I think it might be worth it with this team. They have to take big swings here, and I think they needed it on the offensive line.
And on the flip side, I wonder if Morgan Moses helped get him here in the sense he'd said he talked to Morgan Moses about potentially joining the Patriots. On paper, to me, with this signing, they're going to have a better line this year than they did last year. You should get second-year growth from Will Campbell and Jared Wilson. Vera Tucker, I think, is an upgrade at left guard. And then Mike Onwenu and Morgan Moses, assuming Moses can stay healthy, like solid veterans, right? They still have needs. They lost Darian Lowe, which I know there's mixed opinions on him. They don't have backup left tackle. And there was some reporting from Mike Reese this morning on Thayer Munford. He's recovering from surgery, so he could be an option, but he's not going to sign right away. They still need backup left tackle. They still need a long-term plan at right tackle. I like Ben Brown as a backup left guard, but given Vera Tucker's injury history, maybe they add another layer of protection there. But I feel like if they had to play a game today, on paper today, their offensive line is better than it was. We just talked about wide receivers. I feel like it's more or less a wash. Diggs out, Doubs in.
And it wasn't bad. The receiver group, they performed most of the season.
It's fine, but the idea of did they get better, I think it's a lot easier to say with conviction they got better on the offensive line.
Yes, I believe so. Because you added a guy that could potentially be a Pro Bowl caliber left guard.
Right. The only question. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, and Wilson gets to go back to the position that made him an elite player in the SEC.
Right.
He goes back to his natural spot and being Drake May's guy now under center. So I think he goes back to being he can be a better player at center than what Bradbury was. And I think it just makes everybody overall better on the offensive line. Sorry, but go ahead.
No, the only question for me is, so you look at the top of the guard market, which was insane, which was nuts. Vera Tucker got $42 million over 3 years, but it's only 21 guaranteed. There's some massive in-game roster bonuses in here.
Yeah.
$250,000 per game. Per game.
Yeah,
over 3 years. I think it's a total of like $12 million.
I wouldn't even tell anybody if I'm hurt.
Showing up. And 985thesportshub.com, I wrote up some details on his contract if you want to check him out. You know, if they were going to kind of be in that neighborhood, the two guys that were comparable, David Edwards got like, I think 16 a year, 17 a year. He got crazy money from the Saints. And then Isaac Seumalo got a comparable contract to AVT, but he got a 3-year deal at 33 years old.
Yeah, that kind of struck me. I had to look and double take at his age. I'm like, oh, he's 30. He'd be 33 in September or something like that. Like, That's pretty interesting to give a guy that kind of contract at that age, that position.
That's what the guard market was. So that's going to kind of be the question we ask. Should they have? It's easy to say, I'll take this one out. Should they have spent more money on David Edwards? You can always pay more money and get a better player, right? That's always part of it.
Yeah.
There is significant risk that comes with signing Vera Tucker. There's significant upside, but there's significant risk. But even though Seumalo plays, like, again, he's 33. We're talking about this with Morgan Moses. Can they count on him? Would you have rather, for similar money, they have taken a risk on a more durable, older player? Vera Tucker's 26. He'll be 27 in June. So he's entering his age 27 season. 6 years younger. Would you rather they have taken the risk in terms of age for a guy that's proven to be more durable but is up there versus what Vera Tucker brings?
I think you got to go with the youth movement here. I think they're trying to build a core around Drake May. Just a core of guys that's going to be around him for a few years. That way you get a decent run out of these guys around him. And I think age plays a huge thing with all these guys. I mean, you mentioned Seumalo and Edwards. I think a huge part, Stephon Diggs. I think we mentioned this a lot in the offseason, don't want to fall into the same trap that happened in Washington, where next thing you know, Jaden Daniels surrounded by all these veteran guys. You're relying to be healthy and stick around. I mean, he got hurt, of course, to derail their season, but they got old pretty quick. And I think they kind of want to stay younger. And I think Vera Tucker, they look at him and say, hey, if this guy's healthy, we have a potential to have an all-pro caliber left guard here in his 20s. And we got a good contract with him. I think that's where they're going. If he gets hurt, it's a part of the risk. But if he hits, it's a real boost for them in multiple ways. So I think they're trying to stay relatively young. You got Romeo Doubs in his 20s. You got this kid, Vera Tucker, in his 20s. I think that's where they want to land with a lot of these players.
Let's grab a couple calls here before we hit the break. We'll start with Randy in Providence. Randy.
Hey, good morning, Alex.
Hey.
So I did have a question, but while I was on hold, I found your answer for you, and I think you're going to like it about the free agent signings.
What do you got?
So the last time that I found that they really rated the rest of the AFC East was the 2001 free agent class.
Right.
Antoine Smith from the Bills, running back.
Yeah.
Roman Pfeiffer, linebacker from the Jets. And then from Miami, Terrell Buckley and Larry Izzo, as well as Brian Cox. So that was all three teams, three players from Miami, one from Buffalo, one from the Jets, all contributors.
Well done.
So at any rate, the actual reason I called, I was just bored on hold. So my question is, position I haven't heard anybody mention yet is cornerback.
Yeah.
Alex Austin left. We didn't replace him. I think this is kind of like the last real need because, Carlton Davis, the fact he made it through a season without missing any games is like a little small miracle. He's struggled with injury throughout his career. And I just feel like we've got to have a good option as the third cornerback. And I think this draft sets up well. I think there's a lot of guys in the fourth round. I think Ephesians Price, his teammate Sicario Davis. There's a lot of guys in that third, fourth round range that could maybe jump into that role. Also, I think that edge, I feel like that's not as big a need in the eyes of the team as it is in the eyes of the media and the fans. And I recently heard Greg Bedard talk about that. He said something similar. And I go back to last summer, listening to like Edge position coach Mike Smith just raving about Elijah Ponder, talking about his physical skills. He had never seen anything like it, and his football IQ, how quick he was to pick things up and so forth. I think he's going to have a much bigger role this year than people think. Like, I still think they draft one, but I just don't think it's like, oh God, we have to have an edge. And then, like, draft, like, when you're talking about the draft, the only position I've heard either Vrabel or Wolf talk about you need to draft is wide receiver. Right? And I think they both talked up Kyle Williams. You know, they brought in Doubs, but I still think they need a bigger wide receiver. Like, Hollins is going to be 33 in September. This is the last year of his contract. I think in my ideal draft for them, they target a big wide receiver, maybe certainly in the first 2 days. It depends on how it lays out and stuff. But there are a lot of guys in a lot of the mock drafts I do, you know, whether it be like a Ted Hurst, a Bryce Lance, a Malachi Field, something like that, like the third round range. So mostly, what do you think about the cornerback room, like Elijah Ponder next year? I think he's going to have a bigger part than people think.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Randy. So I do think cornerback and secondary as a whole is a sneaky need. I think they need a safety too. And we'll get into that a little more later in the show. But I've been saying that. Like, Carlton Davis entering the last year guaranteed money on his contract. Assuming they pay Christian Gonzalez, you know, you're probably not going to re-up Carlton Davis and put that much money into one position when you have the extension coming for Drake May. So you'd like to have a starting caliber corner on a rookie deal. I think it's a good class for that. To what he said about the edge, too, we'll get into that more when we talk about Draymond Jones. I actually think that they're kind of signaling that they're going to draft an edge relatively high.
I completely would. Once I saw the signing, I went right back to my list of my top edge guys and was like, yep, that guy's going to be available at 31. So, I mean, I think the fans as well. He mentioned the fans. Kind of, it just seemed like the last few days that fans have forgotten about the draft or make it like an afterthought. And it's like, no, you can really get impact players in the draft, especially at the positions of need for the Patriots. There's going to be some good defensive ends out there. And there was a couple that came in last year that were impact players, James Pierce being one of them in Atlanta. He might have ruined his career, but he came in out the gate and got 8.5, 9 sacks for the Falcons. And you're looking to hit on a guy like that is sitting there at 31 and possibly in the second round.
Let's go to Steve in Rosendale. Steve.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I just want to, respectfully disagree with the prior caller about what they're prioritizing in the draft. And one of the things I've been doing is trying to find out, put together a list of the players they've been visiting and interviewing at the various bowls, combine, pro days, top 30. And kind of when you put the list together, there's some kind of fascinating insights to be found. First of all, the Patriots have met with over 50 draft prospects that have been publicly reported. Mm-hmm. Not a single one is an offensive player who doesn't play interior offensive line. Besides, I just was reported, I think yesterday, that they met with Mike Washington, a running back. So once again, there's two caveats to this. They're going to meet with more players. They still have more top 30 visits. Yep. And they could, hypothetically, although I think it's very unlikely, draft a player they don't meet with. But
they usually do, for what it's worth. They usually, that tends to happen.
They usually draft players that they meet with, correct?
Oh, no, there's usually a handful of players they draft they didn't meet with.
Oh, yeah, but last year they drafted their first 4 picks they met with.
Okay, yeah.
And the other thing, and this is like a deep cut, but the one player that was reported that they were planning, that was their super secret pick that they did not meet with, Jonas Savaiinaea, who the Dolphins sniped them for, ended up being the worst offensive lineman in the league, by some metrics. So I just think that if they're going to spend a premium pick on a player, they're going to meet with them. And the other thing is that, this is a weird metric, and I haven't done the math out completely. Okay. But if you were to look at the average draft position of the players they're looking at, they are meeting with more edges higher up than any other position. Yes. If you were to assign them draft value based on the picks where they're supposed to go at, the 30th pick is worth 900 points or whatever, they might be meeting with a higher value of edges than all the other positions combined. So I think edge is a priority, and I think that either they don't plan on making their first, second, and third round picks, or it's just going to be a defensive heavy draft. I just don't see them meeting with so many I don't see them meeting with a lot of offensive players right now.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Good stuff there. Good stuff. So I will add some context to that. And that's great research. But I will note, and I don't mean to pick on Steve. Like, that's great stuff.
Yeah.
We still have 5 weeks to go. And what I've kind of learned the last few years, some of these meetings come from the American Bowl, the Hula Bowl, even the Shrine and the Senior Bowl. You kind of the teams just kind of feel like meet with everybody that's there. The real telling ones are whose pro days are they going to, and then obviously the top 30 visits are the big ones. And that's a lot of what he was referring to. Like the guys that they take high in the draft, they're bringing those guys in for 30s. So they're laying their groundwork there. It definitely skews so far towards edge. I'll be really interested to see. So let's keep an eye out here in the next few weeks. The pro day circuit's already underway. 30 visits are going to start very soon. And the top 30 visit, you get up to 30 players. Those are when the prospects visit the team facility, right? They'll come to Foxborough or when players go wherever. So I think that, let's see if that trend continues for the 30 visits. But it does seem like they're certainly targeting edge guys. I do want to get in the defensive side. There's one more offense player we got to touch on, Cerrone. We'll do that after the break here. It's Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
You heard him there. I was actually me talking to him when the Patriots introduced their free agent signings on Thursday. This is going to be fun, Cerrone. This guy cracks heads. He's a true lead blocker. They did say they want to get him the ball a little bit more too, but between him, Vera Tucker, Julian Hill, they're doing a lot to open up the run game.
Yeah, and I love it. And I'm pretty sure Drake May loves it as well. And the running backs, Stevenson and Henderson, I'm pretty sure they can see the potential in this, and it just opens up everything for this team. It makes them, had people calling the other day saying, it makes them predictable when those guys are on the field. There's a lot of situations in the NFL that are very predictable, but you can't stop it. When you have elite talent, when you have somebody out there who's moving people, like the guys that they picked up. You mentioned Hill, who's been moving people since he got in the league, and it just you can't stop it. You can know the run is coming, but if you have good talent out there, you really can't stop it when it's really rolling. And I think that's a good feature and a good pickup for the Patriots. Just having him out there, we've seen the success of fullbacks and McDaniel's systems over the years. We've all talked about it, and just bringing another guy that can go out there and not only move people in the run game, but on play action, wise enough to pick up the blitzes, then pick up protections around Drake May to buy him another half second or second of time to make the throws downfield to get everybody else open. So I'm all for that pickup, and it just symbolizes to me that when they get short yardage, red zone, or even whatever, just first down, they're running the football and kind of tweaking the identity of this team. And I mean, they only threw it, I think, last year to a 22nd in pass attempts, but I can see them being a much more balanced team, an effective balanced team when they're running the football, and I'm all here for it.
Balance is the key. That's the thing to me. Like, they got too one-dimensional at times, and especially when you face some of those better fronts, like it's going to take the pressure off the offensive line. How many times did we say, well, they have to establish the run because it's going to upset the timing of the pass rush and give, the offensive linemen some extra time in pass protection, extra half second in pass protection, and they couldn't do it. This is an investment towards helping that happen. So I'm glad to see them reinvesting that. I still think they need a back. Maybe they have a couple guys on the roster that could compete for the third back role, but I wouldn't hate them drafting somebody, to add to the mix with like Lan Larison and Terrell Jennings in that group. But I do like how they invested in the run game.
Could you see them adding a true third down back, a true pass catching, multi-use back, as opposed to using the guys that they have there? Ramondre has been really good at it, but drafting a guy that's a specialist at that role.
It's funny. We actually had somebody on hold who looked like was going to ask that question.
Sorry, go ahead.
He dropped off. I apologize. We didn't get to you in time. If you want to call back, 617-779-0985. We'll get to some more calls here soon. I'm torn on this because it sounds like Vrabel and Wolf want kind of the do-everything backs, which we obviously know Ramondre Stevenson is, and they started getting there with Travion Henderson last year. But Josh McDaniels has his history with those third down backs. So I feel like Josh McDaniels wants one, but also if we can get guys that can play that role but do more too, like, do they just kind of want the well-rounded guys? I've gone back and forth on that. I'm honestly not sure. It's tough to get a read on that. It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, the kid, I know we mentioned him before. I'm trying to pull him up here. The kid from Pitt, the running back.
Des Reed. Well, so here's the thing with Desmond Reed. He's not, and it's funny, my comp for him was kind of like ceiling comp was Dion Lewis. Because Dion Lewis was small and quick, everybody puts him in that third down back role.
Yeah, but he was straight ahead.
He wasn't, right. He was just kind of a more quick early down back as opposed to like the downhill Antoine Smith, Corey Dillon, Sony Michel, Stephen Ridley type backs, because he's not big enough to pass block. So they might add they could add a guy like Des Reed, certainly. He's going to be more like the Dion Lewis role. I don't think you're going to see him play on a lot of obvious passing downs because he's a liability in pass protection.
Okay.
And so that's what's going to hurt him there. Like, they want guys who can pass protect. The one I'm really interested in, if you want to do day 3 running backs real quick, I'll give you a name, Cerrone. Adam Randall from Clemson, if you're familiar with him.
Yep.
Super interesting player. I'm honestly not sure. Like, he's a day 3 pick. He's a flyer. I'm not sitting here saying they should draft him because he solves a lot of questions.
He's big.
Well, so he's a converted receiver. He's 6'3", 232. He's a converted X receiver.
So he has the hands.
Right, that's playing running back, but he's still very much like, and you can do a ton of cool mismatch stuff with him, move him around the formation, but he's still very much learning how to play running back in terms of like field vision, hitting the hole, things like that. Cordero Patterson is kind of an easy comp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
But, and where's he at in pass protection? He has the size, but he's never had to do it because he's mostly played wide receiver. But, somebody like him, if they're going to do like the late day 3 thing, somebody like him would be very interesting to me.
And he's a guy that you absolutely know once you flex him out and you put him in motion, put him on the outside, now he drops into his element as a wide receiver. So that's another wrinkle to add. So, I mean, that's the kind of guy Josh McDaniels would work on, like a Frankenstein type project there. But I mean, hey, late, like you said, day 3 guy, I'd take him. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, he's you're not taking him in the top 150. I mean, he's a flyer, but you're kind of drafting on either singular traits or pure upside at that point in the draft. And there's not many 6'3", 232-pound running backs with a background in running routes. Just not going to find a lot of guys like that. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but if you want to take a flyer on a rare player, that's a rare player.
He'd be a fan favorite immediately. Like, I can see a training day, training camp, everybody there to see him. And in the preseason, I think he'll be a fan favorite.
We would get calls every Sunday. Yeah, why aren't they giving Adam Randall more? They should flex him out wide and throw him deep balls. Like,
put him at kick return, throwing passes.
He can return kicks, which is another part of the reason that I'm kind of interested in him. But
he'd be a fan favorite immediately.
And not necessarily correctly. We'd be hearing a ton about him. All right, we got to hit these headlines. We come back. We've done a lot of offense here over the first hour. We could spread it out more because we have a 3-hour show if you missed that. So I want to get into some of the defensive signings they made. Plus, back to your call, 617-779-0985 here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
From the Town Fair Times News, Dutcher and Hardy, Joe and Beetle, Belgrade.
in the NFL. He's dropped some weight. Said this week he's playing around 260 at 6'3", listed at 280, but playing around 260 at 6'3", coming off a career high 7 sacks in 18 games. A rare 18-game player. Was traded at the deadline, missed the bye week. That was between the Ravens and Titans. Before that, he'd spent time in his career with the Broncos and Seahawks. I think with Draymond Jones, like, not a bad player. I think he's a solid player. The thing for me, I had talked a lot about this, Cerrone. Like, I wanted to see them at defensive playmakers. Guys that are maybe they're more boom or bust, but they're going to get to the football. They're going to create turnovers, things like that. Like, that's what Caleb Von Chason is.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the one guy they had defensively, maybe him and Hawkins, who they also lost, but we'll get to that in a second, who kind of played that way. Draymond Jones, to me, is the opposite. Draymond Jones is he's steady Eddie. Like, he's a solid power rusher. He's going to be a little better against the run than Chason. He's not a great run player. He's going to be a little better against the run against Chason. He can play a couple of positions. Just a good, all-around, reliable player, but he's not a playmaker. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the direction I thought they'd go. I think he's probably more complimentary in that sense. As of right now, him and Harold Landry are their top rushers. So it's a fine signing. When you look at is another market, the edge market, that got completely out of control in terms of the money. The Patriots gave him 3 years, $39.5 million. I think it's just under 30 guaranteed. It's fine. I don't know. Like, it is a fine signing. I don't think it's a bad signing, but it's not one of the ones I got, more excited about. I still think, you got to pair him with somebody more explosive and more athletic and more of a playmaker.
Yeah, I looked at this signing and I said, okay, the guy got to the quarterback with 24 times or whatever, QB hits.
Career high in QB hits too.
Yeah, he was more than any other player on the Ravens or the Patriots. He had the most on the Ravens team in just a short time that he was there. But when I saw them sign him as opposed to some of the other names that were out there, I immediately looked to the draft and said, yeah, they're going to snatch up these edge guys in the draft. That's what they're going to try and fill that need. I know fans don't like to hear that a lot, but there's playmakers in this draft. There's guys on the edge. We've talked about it a few weeks ago, going through the potential players, landing spots. Keem Mesidor, TJ Parker's a guy I'm pretty high on. There's a lot of guys that can get after the quarterback in this upcoming draft. And I think that's where they're going to go. I think that's where they're going to get their young, explosive guy from. It might be more than one. They might get one of the top guys and might get another one a little later on. But I look at Jones as a guy that's his weight, a heavy guy. Not saying he's more of a D tackle type player, but I think that's where they're going to go with this. I think he's just having another big body on the line that could take up space, that could just be physical with the power game to go along with Barmore and Milton Williams. He's not as big as those guys, but he's bigger than Landry and Chason. And I think they're going to get their fast, explosive guy, their edge guy that just gets after it, forces fumbles, whatever, gets in the backfield. I think they look for that guy first day, first round, if they still have that first round pick in the upcoming draft.
So to go back to what we talked about earlier, how big of a need is edge, right? Part of what surprised me is, okay, they didn't go to the top of the market on the position. They let Chason walk for 1 year's $12 million, which I thought was doable. Some guys like Arnold Ebiketie, I thought would have made sense for them because they need more there. Just in terms of the numbers, it feels like they're one player short of the full rotation, right? So they have Draymond Jones. It sounds like they're counting on Harold Landry to bounce back from the knee injury. Elijah Ponder flashed last year. Now, he only played 200 snaps, but there's a lot to like from him. Those are the three, really the only proven players. Jones. Landry's coming off the injury. Ponder's young, but okay, you factor them in. Those are guys that you feel okay counting on. Braden Swinson's an unknown. Jesse Lucetta's an unknown. And that kind of rounds it out. So you really want 4 or even 5 guys there. So I'm looking at all right, they're guys short. They don't re-sign Chason. They're not in on Ebiketie at what felt like a solid mark. I shouldn't say they're not in. I don't know that. But they don't sign Ebiketie on what felt like, a doable deal. There's some other edge guys that fit this mold more. I'm like, what are they waiting for? Why aren't they adding a guy in that spot? And I kind of thought about it. And if they are going to draft somebody, Harold Landry's going to play. Sounds like, they're going to give him every chance coming back from that injury to play. He's probably going to start. Draymond Jones is probably going to start. Elijah Ponder is going to play a significant rotational role. if you give somebody, $7 to $10 million a year, he's going to play. Mm-hmm. So now if you draft somebody,
he's just sitting there.
He's fifth, and he's buried on the depth chart. So they need one more guy to complete that picture. And I think some people looked at free agency this week, and myself included for a moment, and saw it as, well, they need one more guy. There's a lot of guys out there. Why aren't they going to get that guy? Because they want to make sure their young guys can play, and they want to make sure they can develop, which, by the way, this team kind of didn't do a good job of. Last year they did a very good job of it. The previous few years, how many times did we talk about they got to get this kid on the field already?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's where they're at with Edge. They need another guy. It makes sense they need another guy, but they know they're going to get that guy in the draft. Now, maybe that's not the first round. I would think if they're kind of carving that role out, it's somewhere in the top 100, really top 60, one of those first two picks.
I'd be shocked if they didn't get an Edge in one of those first two picks.
I'm with you. And I think that's maybe why they didn't, bring back Chason or sign one of these other kind of, the guys we talked about being this year's Caleb on Chason, the guy that was a former first-round pick. Kwity Paye was another player like this that can you revitalize another one of these guys, and they might just want their own player, and they see how strong this draft class is, and they're going to go that way. I kind of had the same thought at safety, too, and we'll just kind of transition to Kevin Byard here, where I've said this. I want them to have 3 legit safeties, so they have more depth. They can run 3 safety packages. Byard, fantastic addition. Veteran leader, and you lost some of that leadership between Chason and Kairos Tonga. Defensive play, like that checks the box emphatically. 7 interceptions last year. I think multiple came off of J.J. McCarthy's. Maybe there's a little bit of an asterisk on there, but still, no, I don't want to take away from him. Like, tremendous player.
I hear you.
He is 33. Now, he was an All-Pro last year. I'm not worried about him not being able to play, but like long term, you want to get somebody next to Craig Woodson. Yeah. You want more depth there. But that's another one where I'm like, Jalen Hawkins, I thought was a very doable contract. Some of the other safeties that were out there. And, now I'm having the same thought that, well, if you're going to draft a safety, you call it in the top 150, like relatively high. They got Craig Woodson in the 4th round last year. Are they not adding that depth safety, that third safety, because they want to draft a guy and they want to make sure they have their role? So I think it's a need. I think at this point it's a draft need, but I Byard and Woodson, and Byard's primarily a free safety. I don't think he gets enough credit for quite how effective he can be near the line of scrimmage, but he's at his best when he's on the back end. Craig Woodson the same way. He's a hybrid, but he's at his best at the line of scrimmage. So they have safeties that are multiple and can do multiple things. They don't have to get predictable, but when they kind of just need to drop into the strength of things, they have guys that can do it, and they're not going to need to play guys out of position. So I love the Byard signing.
Yeah, same here. Once I saw that, I said, they're rolling now. That was the big one for me, because I think he just elevates what was already a good team, a good defense. We all watched the NFL films thing of the Seahawks safeties in their secondary plays calling out what they thought Drake May was going to do. Watch this, watch for that. Having a veteran guy back there that is so good in the pass game, that can point to a young player like Woodson to say, hey, man, watch this. I got your back here. Don't be afraid to come up here, play underneath here. I got behind you. And it allows guys to not be on their heels, kind of be on their toes and be aggressive, be playmakers, go after the ball. Don't be afraid to miss on a play. And just having a guy back there, even with Gonzalez, he can tell, hey, man, watch this. Play him tight because I'm behind you here. Having a veteran guy back there, we've seen this Patriots team. Yeah, they won all their Super Bowls because they had a guy back there with that type of knowledge, and not the same player, but when you had Rodney Harrison back there, it helped everybody else. We saw his impact, and we all believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. We saw McCourty, once he went back there, his ability to be a ball hawk and call things out and be a leader back there. That's such a huge thing in today's game. And you look at their schedule is supposed to be tougher. You're playing better teams. Having better veteran guys back there helps you beat some of those good teams and makes it hard on the Josh Allens and his other good quarterbacks you're going to see. And I think that's a huge pickup for this team. And they needed guys. You mentioned playmakers, guys that could turn the ball over and give your offense a short field. As good as defense as they were, they still didn't, to me, get enough turnovers and shorten the field for Drake May.
617-779-0985. You want to join us? Write your calls next here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
Anyone can. guarantees us a spot. So I think what the Patriots might want to do, or how I would look at it, is how do we focus on beating the Bills? Because the Dolphins and the Jets I'm not so worried about. Hopefully that's the case. But if we can beat the Bills, finish first in the AFC, we're in the playoffs again. And I think stopping Josh Allen or trying to slow him down and slowing down their running game with Cook. So I think the signing of Gilliam, our fullback,
Yep.
that does two things. It helps our running game, and it maybe pokes a hole in theirs. But
Certainly.
everyone's talking about wide receiver number one, and I was certainly in that camp. I'm thinking what we need to do is to focus more on, say, edge rushers and linebackers in a way to be able to win the AFC East. So I'm just wondering what you guys think about that approach, and I'll listen to the rest of the show. Go Pats. Thanks.
Go Pats, Tony. Thanks for the call. It's a good point. Look, back in the day, there used to be one or two additions the Patriots and Colts would make every offseason that you were like, oh, that's for when they play each other.
Yep.
Like, that guy's here. He's not going to do anything all year. And then when they play the Colts, he's here for that, for Marvin Harrison or Dwight Freeney or Clark or whoever. Like, I'm all for making a couple of those additions. And he makes a good point. You got to get better on the edge if you want to contain Josh Allen. The one other position, you mentioned linebacker, which is fair. Defensive tackle, if you want to stop the run game. And, Kyrus Tonga's a loss. Yeah. And I think they can get, another run-stopping nose tackle, but you have to do it. There's a handful of those guys in the draft. It's doable. If we're talking about specific, players to match up against the Bills, those are the two I'd look at. An athletic edge guy that can kind of keep up with Josh Allen around the corner there, and then somebody who's going to eat blocks in the middle against the run.
Yeah, and I think to the caller's point, not just the Bills, but look at their run through the playoffs. I mean, they faced all the top 5 defenses, all those things. They play really tough physical teams in the playoffs. I think they looked and said, we got to get tough and physical. We got to be dominant in the trenches. We got to be able to match the energy of some of these teams and be able to win a dogfight. Just be out there just battling and picking up the players that they picked up. You added a safety, you added an edge guy, deep slash D tackle, whatever you want to call Jones, fullback, blocking tight end, a guard. They're planning to be nasty in some of these games, and I think that's the kind of team they know they have to be late in the season where it really showed itself. Because during the season, we can't just look over the fact this team scored 28 points a game. They're explosive downfield. They had the big plays and the skill position guys. They lacked the toughness and physicality once it hit January. They won because the defense stepped up. They had some favorable matchups, whatever it may be. They won those games, but they realized they have to be a tougher physical team up front on both sides if they really want to really contend and compete for another Super Bowl run.
Yeah, no, on both sides. Mike Vrabel did an interview with Patriots.com during the Combine in which he mentioned, needing to get stronger on offense, and not metaphorically, like literally being able to exert their will more on the offensive side of the ball. And I think you've kind of seen that come through in free agency. Let's go to Tom in Oxford. Tom.
Guys, do you see them addressing the tight end in this draft? And if you do, is there anybody? I know no one's going to ever be like Gronk, but is there anybody that's like a really good blocker out there that can catch, that they can keep in to help out with the offensive line?
Yeah, Tom, I think it's a position they're definitely going to target. Mike Vrabel had talked at the Combine about liking this class, and it's good you bring up the blocking. I think a lot of people get lost in, the shiny new toy.
No, they got
what can this guy do as a receiver, right? They have guys that can do. You want a guy that can do a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
Julian Hill is a blocking tight end. You want a guy that you can put on the field and can play in, any call, any phase. So some names to know: Max Clare from Ohio State, Sam Roush from Stanford, Oscar Delp from Georgia, Eli Raridan from Notre Dame, Dalen Bentley from Utah, John Michael Gillenborg from Wyoming. Those are just some of the guys that can do both, and to varying degrees, but. Tight ends, another. We talked about this before, that maybe they didn't dip into the middle of the market in free agency at some positions where they could have, and those positions seem to line up with the strengths in the draft, right? So they have Hunter Henry, they added Julian Hill, and I know it didn't go in this order, but if they were to have signed like a Cade Otton, or even a guy like Isaiah Likely, they've talked about wanting to get younger at that position. Even David Njoku's still out there, who I like. David Njoku's going to be 30. You're not getting younger at the position, and if you draft somebody and you add him, well, that guy's not going to play.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're maybe earmarking certain spots for rookies down the road here. Let's go to Walter in Boston. Walter.
Hey, Rob. All right, good morning, guys.
Hey.
Well, I'm looking at the Pats in the second round. Do you think that kid from Wisconsin will be there, the one with the 80-something inch? Every time Wingspan, every time I watch him play, it takes two guys to handle him. Like nobody, I mean, he's a person. I watched Kuiper and them talk a little bit about him. He could be a steal, but I think he fits the Patriots perfect because his arm length and his quickness getting off the ball. He reminds me of like T.J. Watt, like that type of player.
80.
Like I think.
Do you mean Illinois?
You think No, he's on Wisconsin.
So you might mean Mason Rieger. He's he's going to be there in the second round. He's like a projected day 3 pick.
Yeah, he's not.
He dropped off. Good build, good athleticism, very raw.
Yeah,
very raw player. He's just kind of winning by being more athletic than people at this point. And look, maybe they can develop another edge.
Yeah,
they've done it. They did it with Chase on last year. They got him going, but he'd be, that's like if they double up at edge. He'd be a second pick. He'd be more of a project player than a guy that's going to instantly make an impact.
And I think any other draft, he might be a lot higher. But because this draft is so deep at that position, he slides all the way down. So he can be available late, absolutely. But I think the guys they want to still be there when they're picking at 31. But to the previous caller's point about the tight ends in the draft, you mentioned Sam Roush. I like him because he's 6'6". I think Drake May needs a big target, a big body guy out there in the middle of the field. But the guy, I mentioned him to you before, the kid from NC State, Justin Jolay. Look, man, he reminds me of Antonio Gates. Not saying he's that good, but he's strictly a pass catcher. But he's very elusive and very quick. He's not fast. 40 time was like 4.7 or whatever it was. But he is very elusive, very quick. He moves like a basketball player. I think he'd be an excellent pass-catching tight end for this team. But he's not going to give you much of anything in the run-blocking game. But I do like Roush, the guy you mentioned earlier, because I love his size, being, like I said, 6'6" across the middle of that field. Drake May could find him all day long. Yeah,
he's, you want to talk about a guy maybe on day 2 that could come in and really help them with like athleticism and all of that. I like the idea for them. I'm trying to find Mason Rieger's wingspan because he's 30. His arms are under 33 inches, so I'm not sure where the caller got the 8. I'm not saying it's not true. I was just trying to find it. Let's pull up. Who do we got? Steve in Fall River's been holding on. Steve.
How are you guys?
Hey.
So a year ago, we just transport ourselves back a year ago. It was all about this 4th pick. We had months and months and months to talk about it. And then the Patriots leadership said, we're going with this 4th pick. We're taking this guy at 4, blah, 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 blah. They all got locked in on it. That was a big mistake. Why is it a big mistake? Because you could have traded that 4th pick in the draft and you could have gotten 2 number ones. One last year you would have swapped out and you'd had one this year. Now let's go back to now. Let's go back to all these needs we have. Would it be nice to have another number 1 pick? Maybe you could have went after one of these high-profile receivers that could have been on the trade market because you'd have the number 1 pick. What have you got? You've got doubt on the offensive line. I'm going back to last year. What was the biggest reason they said we're going to take it? Well, we haven't had success drafting for several years. We just have to take this first pick and just take it and plug them in because as if that was going to solve your entire offensive line. 1, it's only one position. 2, it's a tackle. A guy that didn't even project that good in the NFL as tackle. And now some of their free agent needs, I'm hearing, is they were going to get this Benito or something from the Browns. And all of a sudden, they're trying to move guys around and put the left guard.
Hang on. So, Steve, let's go back here. Let's go back a second. Yeah. I think if they could have traded back last year, they would have. Here's the thing about trading back. Somebody has to want the pick. And it was a 3-player draft. People weren't paying to move up to 4.
You're listening to, wait a minute. That's the 4th pick. You're telling me if you go back in time and you look at what teams got trading a top 5 pick,
Yeah, but Steve, it wasn't a normal draft. There wasn't the same level of blue chip talent at the top.
Basically,
this was the whole thing.
There were no quarterbacks. If there was a bunch of quarterbacks, teams would have moved up. There was
your
one
whole point is there was nobody worth the Patriots taking, but somebody else was going to give up a lot to move up to take a player that was worth giving all that up?
You're telling me that last year
they would not have gotten. I don't think they would have gotten 2 firsts.
2 number one.
I don't think they would have. I think they would have had to undersell the pick because the players on the board.
Fellas, guys, I'll call you back when I look up all the historical top 5 picks.
I know what the comps are. That's the whole point. But there has to be the player on the board that makes it worth the team trading up for. Who do you tell me the player that the team was flying up the board for?
Who's the player that you're trading 2 first-round picks for? That's the point.
Right, because the guy wasn't there. Also, in terms of moving guys around on the line this year, they're actually getting people back where they need to be. Jared Wilson's a natural center. Elijah Vera Tucker's a natural left guard. They're putting people in the position.
Guys, put the Kool-Aid away. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
No,
get it out of it.
Stop drinking the Kool-Aid on your end and tell me who in the top 10 that a team would have traded 2 first-round picks for. Look at the top 10 players. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Mambu or McMillan. Which one of those guys is worth 2 first-round picks right now?
You don't do this draft a year behind. You don't.
No, these are the players that we knew were going to be in it.
Don't do this. You don't try to make that analogy or make that supposition a year later. In the draft, I'm going to go back and go over the rest of 30 or 50 other drafts and tell you that every top 5 pick that was traded received the first round pick.
Right, but those drafts had more talent.
But
show
look
me
at
the drafts
talent.
where the picks weren't traded and see if the talent's more comparable.
So this would have been the only one then, right?
Yes.
There's been some other lesser drafts at the top, and they probably weren't high picks traded in those drafts, or they went for less. I wrote a whole article on this, Steve, last year. Everything you're about to look up, I looked up last year.
No, you didn't. I did.
Okay, real quick. 2 years ago, when it was Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, with Bo Nix, all those quarterbacks, somebody might have moved up and tried to do something. There were no quarterbacks. Teams aren't giving up things for guards and tackles.
I want to read this article. Where can I read
I'll tweet out the link. You can follow me at real Alex Barth on social media. Thanks for the call, Steve.
If you would have traded 2 first-round picks and took Mason Graham, you'd have been fired in 6 months.
So
I mean, it's what it is. I mean,
isn't that what the Browns did?
Yeah, that's my point.
Well, so here's the difference, and here's what I'll say. I don't know why we need to revisit it. That's what beating the Bills in Week 18 of 2024 cost you. Because they could have made that trade if they were in the top 3. They could have made that trade if they were in the top 3.
Right, because after it was we all knew it was Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter. And after that, we didn't know what was going to happen after that.
People love to do this. Well, there's nobody on the board for my team to take, so somebody should give my team a bunch of draft picks and be in that spot.
Nobody.
Right. That's people love to. It takes 2 to tango. All right.
And I'm sorry, real quick.
No,
Travis Hunter got knocked out for the season. Abdul Carter ended up with 1 sack in 17 games. What would you have said if you gave up 2 first? If you're down on Will Campbell, imagine how down you'd be if you gave up 2 first-round picks for a defensive end who had 1 sack after 17 games. Come on now. And you made it to the Super Bowl with Will Campbell playing left tackle. I'm sorry.
And again, I do this it's on my to-do list to write the piece this year. I go through and I look at the last 5 years, every trade that's been made involving each of the Patriots' current draft picks. Yes, that is how little of a life I have. Don't tell me I don't know what draft picks are worth. I spend way too much time figuring out exactly what draft picks are worth. Don't tell me that I don't know what draft picks are worth. Thank you very much.
That draft last year was very difficult. Shout out to you, Mark, for doing all that. It was different. Every pick was, I don't know, nationally. Ashton Genty was like, too high.
Nobody wanted to come up to 4.
No one wanted it. Calvin Banks. I was big on Calvin Banks. It was still like,
Will Campbell's such a problem. Did they just play in the Super Bowl, or did I imagine
That's what I just said. They just played the Super Bowl.
617-779-0985. We're well past it. Back to your calls after this.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Is your stone foundation in need of repair or waterproofing? Call Dunn.
I think I go through like 100-something trades in here. You want the trade history? The 231st overall pick in 2023, it went for 229 and a future 6. In 2020, went for a future 6, and I did within the range. So some of one of those 229.
Yeah.
In 2019, went for a future 6. In 2018, it went with 250. Or sorry, it was traded for 250 in a future 7th. Tell me I don't know the value of draft picks.
Yeah, stop drinking the Kool-Aid, Bob.
I shouldn't know this much. If anything, you should get on me that I know this. There's no reason to know this.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. The Patriots could have easily got 2 first-round picks for last year's 4th.
Everybody was clamoring for, well, I shouldn't say, everybody was clamoring for Mason Graham. The hype for him was insane. It's too much. But nobody was giving up an extra. That's it. If you want, I remember I said it at the time, sorry, I think I said it on this show. What did beating the Bills cost them? It cost them a first-round pick in 2026.
Yeah.
It didn't cost them that immediate offseason. It was going to cost them the next offseason because they were, if they had been in the top 3, I think they would have traded down because they would have been able to get more. That's what.
And I think Calvin Banks is your left tackle because you got him around 10, 11 or whatever it was. Right.
Went.
But I mean, but again, you kept saying it to the caller. Outside of the top 3, we knew it was Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and Cam Ward. After that, we had no idea who's going to go 4 or 24. It was just wide open. And if you had a draft where it was very quarterback heavy in today's NFL, teams get desperate and they move up for quarterbacks and do what they have to do to get one. Excuse me. And because there was no quarterbacks there, teams weren't going to jump like that. There was no. They didn't see the impact players there, and it ended up being running backs. I mean, it was Travion Henderson. It was the kid in playing for the Browns. And McMillan ended up being a good player overall, after all. But outside of that, no one really knew who was going to be the man in that draft.
Eric in Texas has a thought on that call. Eric, good morning.
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. Good to hear you. You're my Sunday pre-workout motivation, so I appreciate it.
You're listening to us to get hyped for pre-work. Wow, you're wired different, man. Good for you.
Well, it is a low-key workout. Let's keep it.
Okay, I got you. Working on that pliability.
Yeah, exactly. Sweep. Steve's a good caller, but he's completely wrong. Trading last year, you're 100% right. It was a 3-person draft. Everybody knew it. We were in the 4th spot. At the best, we're getting a flip for our first-round picks, and we might have gotten a 3rd. And that's probably the best we would have gotten. In regards to this year's draft, as soon as they signed Romeo Doubs, I said they're going to be going edge or lineman, and I think that's what they'll do. And as a University of Missouri grad, I think Marcus Bryant could turn into something, not maybe this year, but the following year, and retire Morgan Moses. So, anyways,
real quick, University of Missouri grad, talking about the pick. What do you think of Zion Young?
Yeah, Zion Young, watched him all year on the SEC network since I'm down here in West Texas.
Yeah.
Really, really high motor. Very, very, very aggressive rusher. He's not worried that much about setting the edge for the run. So keep that in mind. And he will sometimes play with too much emotion. He got a couple personal fouls for either excessive roughness, which I don't agree with in football.
Yeah.
But again, really, really powerful, very strong, fast, aggressive. Doesn't mess around much with the run, and he will at times get himself a little emotional and end up with an unnecessary roughness call. But that's going to happen, I think, with a lot of good players. So I know I've seen his name attached to the Patriots quite a bit.
Yep.
Which would be kind of cool to have another Missouri guy on the team. So I guess we'll just have to see if it happens. I think that if there's a player they really, really want at 3 or 4 spots above, if they target one of those guys, they'll move up to get them from 31 to 28. But they're not moving up 31 to 12. That's what I got. Thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Eric. It's something we haven't talked about a lot, and this is kind of, now that we're through free agency, this is what we'll really start to get into here.
Mm-hmm.
They should be moving up in this draft, whether it's moving up from 31. I think 96 is a great spot to move up from. Daniel Jeremiah tweeted this out. The strength of this draft, I think he said, is like the 40 to 70 range, or 40 to 80. And they have 2 4ths. They have 4 6ths. It's not going to get you up a ton in the first. Well, it might. I guess it was when they traded back with Pittsburgh in 23, here we go, because I know the history of all of this. For some, I don't know what I ate for breakfast yesterday, but I can tell you that in
the wrong guy to say that to.
I can tell you that in 2023, when the Patriots moved back from 14 to 17, they got a 4th-round pick for it, and that was 14 to 17. So that was 3 spots in the teens. If you're talking about moving up from 31, maybe that 4th now. This is a different draft. There's a little more strength in this part of the draft, but if that moves you up 3 spots in the teens, it should move you up about 5 spots, but a team has to want to make the deal. So maybe a first and one of those 4ths gets you up to like 27, 28. The interesting one is the Bills are at 25. They maybe need a receiver. If they're moving up to target a guy like Denzel Boston, you're going to have to jump the Bills. I don't know if that gets you to 24. I can do all these machinations in my head for some stupid reason. But back to the point, if they move up from 96, if package a 4th and a 6th, from 96, that gets you up into the mid-70s. Like that, for the way this draft shakes out, especially for the edge guys, let's say they don't go edge in the first 2 picks.
There's a lot
we both think they will, but like you get into the 70s, you're probably, and I'm not saying you're going to have your pick of all these guys, but just the way the board kind of looks right now, let's say they go tackle to start, right? And then they get, and then they go wide receiver in the 2nd round, which I don't think is unrealistic. Maybe that's not the ideal way they're going to go. Okay, so now you're sitting there at 96. I don't know how many of the day 2 edge guys are going to get to 96. But if you can get up into the mid-70s between Gabe Akis, Derek Moore, Denis Dennis Sutton, Romello Height, Joshua Josephs, you're probably going to have an option between 1 or 2 of those guys. And those are good players. Like, those guys are top 50 picks most years. Again, this edge class is just so deep. So I'm all in. They don't need to make 11 picks. They've made double-digit picks in 4 of the last 6 years, so maybe they want to. I really don't think they need to make 11 picks a year, especially 4 6th-round picks.
I don't think their roster calls for it. No. I think last year you might have said that. This year, where this team was and the players that they've added and the players that are currently on the team, I don't think it calls for them to have that many rookies. They're just trying to fill spots and add a little depth here or there, but you're right. I don't think they need to add 11 picks.
So I'm all for them trading up this year, to the caller's point. Let's go to Patty in Agawam. Says he has a hot take. All right, Patty, what do you got?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I got a couple takes. Funny that you were talking about moving up, because I could see Vrabel and company moving up in the 2nd round to take tight end Max Clare out of Ohio State, because like you said, he does a little bit of everything. He's grown as a blocker. You look at his numbers at Purdue, his junior year or the season before, I think he projects as a pretty good kind of Hunter Henry replacement. But here's my hot take, and it's regarding Elijah Vera Tucker. I think for the duration of his contract, and this is going to drive Jets fans crazy, but that's, this is one of the things I love to do is trolling Jets fans. I'm going to say he plays 95% or thereabouts or above during the duration of his contract. And why, Alex? Because he used to play for the Jets, and he's now on the Patriots. That's all I got.
Thanks for the call, Patty. Oh, I don't think you're trolling Jets fans for that. I've seen a ton of Jets fans say that. Like, watch, he's going to go to New England and play
and be healthy.
They have a history of that. Hunter Henry, remember, had injury problems with the Chargers. And, now the Chargers medical staff's another level. Stabbed their starting quarterback in the lung, half an hour before the game?
I forgot about that.
Tyrod Taylor. But... look how they kept all these guys healthy last year. And there's an element of luck that obviously comes with it. I don't think you can count on the Patriots having the same health luck this year that they did last year. But I think their training staff maybe has something figured out. And it's the training staff. It's the strength and conditioning. I know there's a couple different departments. I always feel bad. I try to name them all nutritionists. When that staff, that group. I apologize if I leave people out, but
and again, look at the Chargers. Everybody was hurt by the time they got to January,
right? Because that's the Chargers. That's what they do. So maybe the Patriots medical staff has a better plan for AVT, and maybe they help them out. That'd be great. So it's not an unreasonable. I don't know how to play every snap, every game, but that the Patriots can kind of make. Maybe there's some things he was doing with the Jets that they're just going to figure out, hey, this wasn't working for you. Try this. We did have a caller from Maine who was on hold for a while. I forgot your name. I'm sorry. You just hung up before I was about to take you. 617-779-0985. If you want to call back in, we'll get to you. I apologize. You were on hold for a while. I apologize. I forgot your name, but I remembered it was the great state of Maine. So call back if you want. We'll get you on. But in the meantime, let's go to Kevin in Mansfield. Kevin.
Cerrone, stay with me here. I need your sense of reasoning to help out with me on this one, because I feel like the caller a few points ago was correct in the trade down with the Will Campbell year. So you're right, Barth, right? I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have got 2 number ones. What do you feel like if you traded down in the 10-ish range? Because by all accounts, Campbell was the best left tackle, right? What if you traded down to 10 or so? What do you think you would have got? A third, a second?
All the way down to 10, a second. Maybe it depends who you're trading with. Probably a second or third. Sure.
Okay. So all right, we're not getting 2 firsts. We're getting a first and a second, or a first and a third-ish, right in that same range. Now, how would you feel about having Membu? So now you get your right tackle taken care of.
Yeah.
And we could have had Morgan Moses play left for the year.
Well, if you're trading down to 10, you might not have gotten Membu, because the Jets didn't need a left tackle. The Jets are probably going to take Membu at 7 either way.
Okay, then maybe we get to 7, right? And first and third and get down to 7, move back to 7. Then we would have had.
Well, here's the thing. Because again, it's not that, and I don't mean to pick on you. It's not that easy. I don't think the Jets are going to help the Patriots out in a draft day trade like that. So you're either going to 6 ahead of Membu, or you're going back behind the Jets at 8.
I'm not. I feel like, Barth, I can't change your mind. It's Cerrone who I need to put a little logic.
Cerrone, do you think the Jets would have made that trade with the Patriots?
Do you feel
they're
like
taking Mumbo anyway.
So let's say we move back and we got Mum. Okay, then Kelvin Banks. So we got to pick a guy, right, somewhere here.
9's a good range if you're getting a second or third. So that's fair. You move back with the Saints. They move up. They take Campbell. Okay. You get Banks at 9. That works.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if we have Banks and Moses, then all right. So then we'd be going into this year, right, with an extra pick. Whether it was if we got the second or the third from last year or this year, whatever, they would have made it work. We'd have an extra pick, and would our line be worse, or would it be?
So I think
equal to where it is.
I think you would
with an extra pick.
I think you would have gotten the second or the third. I don't think you would have gotten the future pick. You would have gotten the second or the third in that draft. Maybe they would have taken an extra lineman. Maybe that helps them get Savanaia, who they wanted, and so now you have the left guard. You don't have to sign Vera Tucker. That money goes elsewhere. So maybe, that's definitely possible.
Then,
I don't think it's massive swing one way or the other.
Could we have been better than we were when we were currently positioned then?
It depends.
I mean, in theory, yeah. If they, where was the Saints' second round pick? Let's say the Saints got very generous. They took Tyler Shuck, so that would have been the Patriots took Henderson, Burden. So the Patriots could have taken Mason Taylor. Maybe they have tight end checked off. They could have taken JTT Amalu, who's been a solid edge rusher for the Colts. So maybe they have another, young rotational player. That's probably what you're talking about.
And you're also, again, now you're still looking. Are you 100% sure that Calvin Banks is better than Will Campbell? That's the other part of it. It's like, well, you're not, because you can see it now that you say, well, maybe Will Campbell's not our guy. Are you 100% sure Calvin Banks would have been your guy as well?
Kevin.
Well, right. I get that. I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a downgrade.
By how much, though?
Banks was a little bit better, but he was in a better situation. He didn't have a rookie next to him, so that factors in. They could have. Thanks to call, Kevin. There's a way to make it work. Certainly, there's absolutely. You could. We could do those hypotheticals all day.
And I think part of it now is it just seems like people are just like, nope, Will Campbell's a complete bust. He's the worst left tackle in football.
Right.
It's like that was not the case. I mean, the kid did get hurt badly and hurt his knee and missed the second half of his rookie season. And then you said, okay, you're back in time for the playoffs. Here's Houston's pass rush. Here's the Denver Broncos and their 75 sacks. Here's the Seahawks. Oh, and by the way, here's Khalil Mack on your other side. That's what he had to deal with coming off a knee injury. I'm pretty sure if you saw Calvin Banks come out of that dome and say, here, play the Texans, play the Chargers, play the Broncos, play the Seahawks, all in primetime moments. Oh, by the way, we're going to put another rookie next to you. Cal, you be saying the same things about Calvin. And, by the way, hurt your knee in November, and then we're going to see what kind of player you are. I mean, I think we're just way too down on Will Campbell based off of what we saw against a Seahawks and Houston's defense that did that to everybody for 3 months last season. So, I mean, it is what it is, but Will Campbell, I think, is a lot better than people want to give him credit for.
And I also, just to go back to the point about, if they moved down and got Membu or if they'd taken Membu. This is not a good year to need a left tackle. They'd be scrambling trying to find a left tackle again.
Now you're right. You're looking for a left tackle now, kid.
In all honesty, the guy we'd probably be talking about is Spencer Fano, who measured in with 32-inch arms. So
you think that would be a talking point?
You're right back in that same position a year later. And we'd be hoping he falls, frankly. Last year, just for what it's worth, the numbers, Kelvin Banks allowed 46 pressures. Will Campbell allowed 45. A few more of Will Campbell's pressures turned into sacks than Kelvin Banks's did, so you want to factor that. But Kelvin Banks was also penalized more. So,
right, you'd be screaming, "Oh my God, another holding call! Another! Oh my, he didn't line up."
And that's
right.
including the playoffs, by the way. That's 17 games for both. That's including the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
you better be sure the guys that came after Will Campbell were better. When you include that into your argument, that you're sure. Are you sure now that Calvin Banks and whoever left tackles came after that are better than what you ended up with?
You want to bring this back to 2026?
Sure.
All right, let's do that. We got to take a break. We'll come back and we'll reset on free agency. Got a little free agency superlative, sort of bring back the Pick'em segment. I know I didn't put the music in the rundown, Ryan. We don't have to do it like that, but we'll kind of do a little bit of an off-season Pick'em segment. Coming up next on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
Sunday Kickoff, extra hour today. We got Matt McCarthy, Joe Murray, Matt McCarthy coming up next. And then that leads into Revolution coverage at 2:30. But we'll reset. We've been pretty free agent heavy. We are going to get into some draft stuff. We are going to talk A.J. Brown. But just to reset where we're at here, some free agent superlatives, Cerrone, I've put together. And we'll start with this one, pretty basic. Favorite signings. Doesn't mean best player. All things considered, the player, the contract, the role, all of it. Who's your favorite signing the Patriots made in the first week of free agency?
Byard, by far. I think he just elevates that defense. Defense, to me, wins in this league. I think he absolutely elevates it. And for those who are saying, well, they're only good because of the schedule and all those other things, nah, they're good. That secondary is going to be menacing, and I think you're going to see a chance for more coverage sacks. So I think he just elevates everybody on that defense. I think you can see more turnovers, not just because of him, but because of his knowledge and being able to see things. I think he's going to put guys in positions and breaking the huddle, just having another guy like that back there. I know people are a little leery of his age. I think the age is the key here. A guy with a ton of experience who's seen a lot can be able to spread that knowledge around that secondary. I think he absolutely helps that defense out. He's my favorite by far.
I'm going to say Byard or Gilliam. A lot of the reasons you said on Byard, I think, are good. Again, I like the investment in the run game. Just get back to being multidimensional. And I think that was important. It was something that was understated. Your least favorite, and you can qualify this however you want, the one that worries you the most, the one that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, however you want to qualify it, the worst signing or your least favorite signing they made in free agency.
I got kind of two here. Okay. They're not bad signings. They're just me being the fan wanted a little more here, but I understand it. And both is because I think the draft is going to play a huge part. Yeah. One is the Julian Hill and then Jones. Again, I think they're going to address edge, and I think we talked about it, possibly going to draft a pass-catching tight end. I thought they had a chance at Likely or, Otten or some of these other guys that are out there. And look, I look at it through Likely's lens. He was in a situation in Baltimore where he split reps with Andrews. So I think he's looking for a situation where he can be the man. We can be the guy that gets the targets, make the Pro Bowls, get that extra money, that bonus money, and just be the featured tight end. And I think part of the reason he probably didn't end up in New England, he's splitting it again with Hunter Henry, so he's back in the same situation. But I wanted one of those high-level tight ends to end up in New England. They still might find a way to get one. But as far as Jones is not a bad player at all. I just think there were better guys early on in free agency, but I understand that because, like you mentioned, the money got so out of control, and the mess with Max Crosby and Hendricks coming out of it. I mean, there was a lot going on the top of that edge rushing class. But again, I think they're going to come out of the draft with one of these elite edge guys, and I think you can get one in the first few rounds. So I'm not too worried or concerned. But those are small, but they're my least favorite of the pickups.
I'm with you on Draymond Jones. I think he's a fine player, but we'll see what happens with the draft. If he's their biggest addition at edge, I just thought they had a lot of chances to go bigger at that position in free agency. I understand the market became what it was. Yeah. But that was a spot I thought, adding a playmaker, adding a guy who could get after the football more, and Jones is a steady player, and there's something to be said for that. I think they have a lot of steady players on defense. I think that they could have been served adding a player, even if he's a little more boom or bust, that's going to add more of that boom. So Draymond Jones, to me, I don't know. It didn't move the needle for me. I think he's fine. I think he's bad, but he doesn't move the needle, and I thought they could add a player that moved the needle in that spot. How about a deal that happened around the league? This could be a free agent you wish they'd signed, maybe one of their own guys they didn't bring back, a deal you'd wish they made that they didn't.
I know it's not really their fault. I wanted Alec Pierce. I really wanted Alec Pierce. Not just so much for what he does individually. I just think he opens it up for everybody else. I think just like I mentioned the other day with Felger, you have a guy like that on the outside in that Super Bowl. They're not bringing safety blitzes. They're absolutely concerned about this dude down the sidelines. And I think it just makes defenders, they're terrified of him. You see the highlights of him against Houston, where he's surrounded by two basic all-pro guys, and he beats them both. And the fact that Houston had to dedicate all that attention to him, and you look at the replay, the middle of the field is wide open. There's two guys running wide open. But having a guy like that makes everybody else. It makes Kyle Williams and Pop Douglas and Matt Collins. It makes everybody better having a guy like that run down the sidelines. But I understand his love was in Indy for some reason, and he wanted to stay there and play with Daniel Jones and continue living in Indianapolis, and more power to him. And he they're saying he took less money to stay there. He signed 2 minutes in the free agency. He wanted to be in Indy, so I don't blame the Patriots for not getting Alec Pierce.
So I'm going to go the complete other direction with this one. Yeah, there's some other deals. Again, I would have liked them to maybe spend a little more in the edge market, but I'm going to go in the complete other direction. This isn't so much the one I wish they'd made that they didn't. I'm just kind of surprised that they didn't. Fedarian Lowe. Darian Lowe did not get a lot of money from the Niners, compared to what I thought he would get. I think it was, what was it, 2 years, $12 million, 5 guaranteed, something like that.
Like that, 12 or 15 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. For a backup left tackle.
That played well in his time he was in.
That's about right. So there's some void money on it, so maybe the structure is what makes it funky, but it's essentially a 2-year contract worth $10 million, $6 million guaranteed. So you're talking $3 million a year for a backup left tackle because they need a backup left tackle now. I don't know. I think I might have done that. And maybe he wanted to go. Look, he might play in San Francisco. Like Trent Williams is 38 years old in a contract dispute, so that may have been the draw.
I'm going to be the starter and then get another payday here.
But I don't know. I would have at least competed in that market. But again, if he wanted to go to San Francisco and play, and look, there's a lot of asterisks that come with this, Cerrone. They didn't have a lot of free agents. They were early to the Super Bowl to begin with. None of their free agents were really like core players. But I'd be curious the last time, and this is another one I tried to look up and I just kind of had trouble finding. The last time a team made a Super Bowl and didn't re-sign a single one of its unrestricted free agents. Because the only one left is Thayer Munford. So they could do that. And it's not as extreme as it sounds when you look at the context, but it's just something that crossed my mind. Biggest need left for the Patriots?
To me, linebacker. I think they need linebackers. I think they need coverage linebackers. I mean, I know it's kind of a forgotten thing in the NFL. I've always thought great linebacker room usually leads to Super Bowls. That's the way it's been most of my life. You're having good, dominant linebackers, multi-use linebackers is key to the league. And I think they still need guys that can cover tight ends, guys that can stop the run. So we're not just relying on Milton Williams and Christian Barmore do their thing up front. Guys that get to the outside and lock in and make tackles. You saw it in the Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker still shaking people out of their shoes. Just having another guy out there to put along with, I can't think of his name right now in the middle of the field, but just having another linebacker out there, coverage linebacker, or just a dominant linebacker on the field, I think is a need for this team.
I'm still going to go edge. They're not in a bad spot, but they need more juice.
Yeah,
they need more juice at the edge. They need another guy, that boom or bust player is going to give you a little more boom. I think edge is their biggest need, especially you could argue they need that top wide receiver. I just don't think that guy's available outside of AJ Brown.
Yeah, that's
that guy's not there in the draft, especially not at 31. So realistically, I think edge. Sneaky need. What's a need for the Patriots? That you don't think people are talking about enough as a need?
Oh, a sneaky need. I thought you were talking about somebody. A sneaky need to me, young corner. You talked about it. Another DB. I think I need a young playmaker, SEC Big Ten caliber corner out there, playmaking corner, a guy, big play corner. I think you said there's a lot of steady guys. You need guys that can turn the ball over. Guys, I know they can be risky because if they miss, it turns into big plays, but ball hawk. They need a ball hawking young DB, and not just because Marcus Jones is a good player for them in that role. But his size, I think, is a problem. You need a guy that's got the long.
Guy.
They need another guy, long arms, physical guy, but he can force turnovers and force the issue on the outside. I think that's what they need.
Hezekiah Masses from Cal and Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin are two guys I would say to look up if that's what you're interested in.
You put him back with Woodson.
No, so he actually just transferred to Cal last year.
He transferred to Cal. Oh, okay.
Where was he? He transferred from like a lower level.
Okay.
And so in 1 year was just nasty. In his first year of Power 5. I want to say he was it wasn't SMU because he was at a non-Power 5 school. Was he at Marcus Jones at Troy? He's at FIU. Florida International for 3 years. And then transferred to Cal last year, had 5 interceptions and 13 pass breakups.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy they need.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of his. I'll piggyback off yours, cornerback. A lot of the reasons you said, I think they need a good young boundary corner at depth. Safety, same thing. I'd like to see them add a young safety. And there's a couple guys in this draft that are maybe hybrids, can do a little bit of both. Maybe you need two players, but you get one guy to do both this year, and then you draft the other one next year and move him to a full-time position. That could be an option, too. I'm with you on that. What is something that people are calling a need that you think people need to calm down about that maybe isn't as much of a need?
It's the one that's been talked about the most, I think, wide receiver. I think they're good. I think they're good enough. I think that group is good enough to win you. You can win a Super Bowl with this group. You've seen you get this far. I think having a steady offensive line, people look at it more the run game. You just see the sacks. A good offensive line giving your quarterback time makes the wide receivers so much better. The double moves are there. The time for them to get open across the middle of the field. How many times did we see the overhead replay of Pop Douglas or Kyle Williams streaking down the field or across the middle of the field, uncovered, but Drake May's running to his right and running for his life? If you had the extra time, this wide receiver group is not only good enough, you've seen the kind of big play potential they have. And I think adding Romeo, Doubs, and I think Kyle Williams is going to get better along the way. I believe he will be. I think he's going to be a better player. I think these guys with a better offensive line, I think they're going to have a chance to really show out. Now, if this is what they went to the season with, I expect them to get somebody in the draft. But without A.J. Brown, I still think this is a good enough unit if your offensive line and your run game are what we think they're going to be.
But what about A.J. Brown, huh? Let's get to the latest on that, plus your call, 617-779-0985 here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
I understand why people are reporting what they're reporting, and I don't mean to pick on the reporters, but yeah. When he's okay, he hasn't been traded yet. Because there's no trade. And at this point, just the contract stuff, it probably won't be until now that free agency's passed, there's really no incentive for the Eagles or for a team, I should say, to trade for AJ Brown until after June. Price going to go down. Eagles are going to be less desperate. There's more incentive for the Eagles because they probably want the pick in this draft, right? The idea when you're trading a player like this, if you're still in a contending window like the Eagles are, or even if you're not, it's what the Vikings did when they traded Steph Diggs, right? They traded him for a first-round pick. They used that pick on a wide receiver, and boom, they had his role filled. Now, they actually improved because they drafted Justin Jefferson. Good for them. But, that's probably what the Eagles want to do. They want a first-round pick. They want to draft a receiver, one in, one out. You're done. As soon as the draft's done, you can't retroactively trade those picks. It's not the NBA. You can't say, all right, well, the Eagles are going to make this pick for us, and then we'll finalize the trade in June. No. Now it's, you're going to maybe get a player in the trade, but you're not going to get a player the same caliber of A.J. Brown because if a team has that player, they're not trading for A.J. Brown. Maybe get a younger guy that's more up and coming, but I think it's going to be a waiting game for the Patriots at this point. Unless, I don't know, Cerrone, would you push the issue and give up more to get the deal done sooner, or would you be fine waiting? Because I would wait.
I think you're better off waiting at this point. I think you could see the Eagles, if they're really desperate for that draft pick, you can see them, I think, kind of, okay, can we get this done? Because they want, like you said, they want to use that pick this year. I don't think the Eagles are all about the future at this point. They're trying to win again and win now. This is their window. They're already starting to lose some pieces here or there. The coach, I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but I don't think he's the safest coach in the league right now. I don't think they're all about the future, and I could see them saying, the closer we get to the draft, all right, well, go ahead, let's just make the deal. And, but I understand they got cap issues and stuff like that. Not issues, but the deal revolves around the cap hit and all that by June 1st. But if I'm the Patriots and I know they're getting desperate, I'll wait them out. I don't need them until September. So I can wait. And I think the fans, we want it now. We want to keep scrolling our phone and refreshing and seeing the news pop up. But I think the Patriots are look, if we're close to getting this deal and the reporting is saying they are, I think they're more than happy waiting on this, and as long as they get their guy in by training camp.
Well, yeah, so I'm with you. I'd wait. There's downsides to waiting. He's going to miss, even assuming they make the trade on June. I don't know if post-June 1 means you can do it on June 1 or June 2nd, but either way, let's say they make the trade the first week in June. He's going to miss the start of the offseason. The offseason program starts, I think, is it April? It's April 15th or April 20th. Yeah. But basically a month from today. So he's going to miss the start of the offseason program. He's going to miss a couple of OTA practices, working with Drake May, building that chemistry up, things like that. To your point, you still get him in for training camp, so it's not like he's missing everything. It's not like you're making the trade in late August. I would start to push once that date passes, but if it's the one thing, I'm not giving up a first once that date passes. I'm not giving up an unknown first. That just odds are, I'd like to think the Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl, but it's hard to do that. Odds are is going to be, higher in the draft than 31st. At that point, to me, it should have been all along if the Bills didn't ruin everything for everybody with that stupid DJ Moore trade. It's a second and a fourth. That's what Steph Diggs went for when he went to Houston. Metcalf went for a lot less. He was a second and a fifth, 5-6 swap. Mm-hmm. That's the ballpark. If a second and fourth gets it done, a second and fourth gets it done. So I would wait. I'd still like to see them do it. Do they need to add him to have what would be considered a successful offseason? I think it's fair to revisit that question after the draft. Mm-hmm. It would certainly put a bow on it. I think they can have a solid offseason, without adding him, but adding him with what they've done already takes it to another level to me.
Yeah, I think it takes the not only the free agent class and all this stuff, their offseason to another level. I think he just takes the team to another level. I mean, when you add a Pro Bowl caliber skill player like this on offense, you add one in your secondary. I mean, with what you already have, you strengthen your offensive line. Yeah, we're going to be looking at edge and some of these other positions, whatever. But those are all things. If they hit on all those, you're talking about an elite, borderline perfect team. But every team's going to have their holes. They're going to have their issues. But if you come out of this with A.J. Brown and you got Romeo Doubs to go with what you already have on this team, the moves you made on defense, the position you're going to be in draft with the edge class and some of these other guys possibly tight end, I think you're looking at a very good offseason and a very, very good football team, a very dangerous, balanced football team. If you can improve your run game, and he also helps your run game.
Yeah.
He is a powerful run blocker on the outside. That's a massive human being. He helps everybody out. He gives Drake May that big target. He gives him a downfield target. You move the chains. You can run the football with this team. You're very balanced, and you're going into every Patriot matchup thinking, what can we do? How do we stop this team? What can we take away? And you have a scrambling quarterback, big bodies on the outside. Doubs, as we said, mentioned him coming in at 6'2". You're a two-headed monster running back, a better offensive line, a blocking fullback, blocking tight end and Hill. It would be a very good offseason. This would be a very good football team. And for a little while, not just 1 year run, not going all in on 1 year, but they'll be good for a couple of years. And yeah, I think that'd be an absolute home run for Patriots. And Elliott Wolf, you talk about the way we'd view him this summer compared to what we saw him 2 years ago would be incredible if he could pull this off.
What do you think the odds are? They know they're getting him and they just know they have to wait.
I think it's according to the reporting, man, high. I'd say really high, 75%. They think they're getting them.
I'm just saying this, me observing it. I don't have any, inside information on this, but you read between the lines of the reports. Doesn't it kind of sound like that? Whether that's the case or not.
Everybody else falling off. And it's
maybe,
not just local.
And maybe the Eagles are putting it out there to look that way, so other teams jump in and offer more. Like that could be it too. But it does. There are some reports that make it feel like there might be a little handshake.
They all believe A.J. Brown's going to end up in New England.
Thank you very much, Mike Giardi.
And you saw Diane Rossini kind of put a similar thing out there. And if you're another team, you're looking at it and saying, yeah, we can jump in this. But we also got to look at it and say, look at the relationship with A.J. Brown and his love of the Patriots and Mike Vrabel. If we jump in and snag him, is he going to be happy in our situation?
Well, that is the thing. Like that's the risk if they are going to wait, and like it's
going to be mad.
If that's the scenario that you have to wait to get it done, and so it doesn't, Howie Roseman gets a better offer, he's going to take it.
Yeah.
So that's the risk you run. That's the game you play, and maybe they look brilliant. Maybe they get rug pulled. We'll see. We got to hit a break when we come back. I want to touch on some draft stuff, some around the league stuff as well. Plus, we'll get to your calls, 617-779-0985. I got a couple open lines if you want to join us here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
It's Jim from Ace Ticket. Your
Mike in Malden. Mike.
Yeah, gentlemen, you touched on it earlier, but it's inevitable that Hunter Henry is, now that he's getting older, is going to run into some of the same injury issues that plagued him early in his career. Tight end, I think, is a much more expressed need than people recognize. The guy that I'm not sure why I'm not hearing talked about, I get the sense that Vegas has to cut cap room now that they brought back or were forced to take back Crosby. They've got Brock Bowers. Do you think Michael Mayer is available? And if he is, what do you think it takes to get him?
He might be. Thanks for the call, Mike. I don't think it would be a ton, but Patriots fans have been talking about Michael Mayer for a couple of years now. He did give a quote after McDaniels left. He didn't specifically mention McDaniels, but he was asked about kind of the state of the team, where he was at. I think this was the summer after McDaniels left. And he said, my mentality, my attitude this year, nothing wrong with last year, but it's different this year. It's different. I'm way happier. I'm more positive. I love it here out on this field. I love to play football, man. This is what I do. It's my job. I've definitely flipped the script a little bit. Last year, maybe there were some days I didn't want to come in or something was going to go down. I flipped the script. It's time to dig down, play ball, win some games, and do what I need to do for this team. Rookie year's over that way in the past. I've already reflected on it. I've already put it behind me. I don't even think about it anymore. So he didn't mention Josh McDaniels specifically, but doesn't sound like somebody that thrived in Josh McDaniels' program.
Yeah.
Maybe it's changed, it was a few years ago, but I see that and I see a guy like, maybe look elsewhere.
Yeah. And I think there's guys out there that are available that they could sign, but I think some of these guys, again, like I mentioned with Likely,
yeah,
some of the good ones, I don't know if they're ready to split carries with Henry, split touches with Henry, and kind of get less numbers, because numbers is where you get paid. It's how you get paid in the NFL. Guys reach their incentives. They want to get Pro Bowl numbers and things like that. And it's hard to do when you're the number 2 tight end or you're splitting with somebody who's very good like Hunter Henry. I think a lot of these guys want to be the featured guy. And I think in order for that to happen, for the Patriots to get a guy that's not looking for that right away, is through the draft. I think you have to find you a younger guy. And I think they want to get younger across the board. We've talked about that's been a theme so far. It seems to be the free agency outside of the safety they signed. But I think they're looking for a younger tight end, a younger version of Henry, or another Likely, but just a younger guy, a guy out of college that they can teach him what they want to teach him. Somebody doesn't have, I don't want to say bad habits, but not the habits that they want. And I think they're going to try and build their guy at why they still have Henry, have a young guy come in behind him. You got your blocking guy from Miami and Hill. Now it's time to find and develop your next Hunter Henry and that guy that's going to be with Drake May long term outside of some of these free agents that are already in their 30s.
I'm with you. I think they need another tight end. Don't get me wrong. They need another tight end. I think they can get that guy from the draft.
Yeah, I think so too.
Hunter Henry's still here for another year at least. You can count on him. He's reliable. Get the next guy in the pipeline now, and then hopefully he steps in as that guy. Let's go to Kevin and Drake it. Kevin.
Hey, fellas, how you doing? I'm just wondering your thoughts on Will Campbell. Obviously, this offensive line was pretty weak during the Super Bowl. So do you think Will Campbell should stay? What do you think of him? I know he got injured. He tore his MCL, and he was elite before that. But what do you think of keeping him past this? Do you think we should find a replacement for him? What do you think?
I mean, I think for now, thanks for the call, Kevin. And I'll say that because everybody thinks I'm too defensive Will Campbell. He wasn't elite before he got here. He was good. He was starting caliber left tackle.
Good enough.
Which is fine. And that's as a rookie. There's room for him to grow. For this year, at least, you're keeping him. Because here's the thing. For anybody who wants to move Will Campbell off left tackle, you have to answer this question. For who?
Yeah.
And right now, we just talked about that, or we talked about this a couple segments ago. You're not getting one in the draft, especially not at 31, not this year.
He'd be the number 1 left tackle in this year's draft.
Right. You want to trade a ton for Trent Williams and pay him a bunch of money for 1 year and have to find a guy next? I don't think that's worth the headache.
Yeah.
So for who? And just because he's going to play, and for what it's worth, he is going to play left tackle this year. Mike Vrabel, Elliot Wolf has said it multiple times. Wolf talked about it on Thursday, and his answer is basically this. He was asked, why were you so quick to judge that Will Campbell's going to be back at left tackle, not consider all options? And he basically said, we considered all options, and there wasn't somebody better that they could get. So you can revisit it each year. Just because he's going to start at left tackle this year doesn't mean he's going to start at left tackle for the next 10 years. They have the flexibility to move him, but you can't, okay, well, he's better at guards. We're going to move him into guard. No, the conversation doesn't end there. And then you're just going to come out with 4 offensive linemen, and you're going to throw Julian Hill over there, and he's just going to come in as ineligible, for every snap all year, and that's how you're going to. No. You have to have a left tackle. They don't even have a backup right now.
Yeah.
So
it goes to show how important and how hard it is to find good left tackle. Like you said, they don't even have a backup left tackle.
It's outside of quarterback, it's the hardest position to find in the league. And it's kind of getting to the point where it rivals quarterback. There's just not enough, not even left. There's not enough tackles, period, to fill out NFL rosters.
And it starts at the grassroots. They're not being developed like they used to be on the younger level. Guys who are normally left tackle size are now coming through high school and getting to college. They're playing they're playing tight end or other positions now. They're doing other things. And I think you can do the same exercise with left tackle. I just thought about this as I did with Felger the other day, and you mentioned you did it the other day with the wide receivers. Name the top elite left tackles, and I'm pretty sure it's not as many as you think there are, and Will Campbell might fall higher on the left tackle list than I think people realize. Everybody assumes every good team has a dominant left tackle. That is not the case. There's not really that many dominant left tackles. There's guys that are good enough to help you win games, but everybody doesn't have Trent Williams on their left side of the offensive line. You're just the one team without one. Yours is decent, and you've seen what bad left tackle play really looks like the previous years before Will Campbell.
You want to do it? We can do the game? We'll do the same thing.
Man.
I have the list right. This is just most left tackle snaps last year, just sorted by snaps. So I don't know. Maybe there's some guys that were hurt and didn't play, but the most snaps played at left tackle last season, and this includes the playoffs. Alaric Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Is he
elite?
I don't think so. And by the way,
healthy,
shorter arms. And he's somebody that I think he was a pending free agent last year. Like, he's fine. I compare this to baseball, where it's, a number one versus an ace. Every team has a number one starter by definition.
Yep.
But just because the guy's the number one starter doesn't mean he's an ace. Like an ace, there's something that comes with that. That's a guy. It's Paul Skeens, right? It's an ace. On the flip side, every team, some teams have 2 aces.
Yeah,
when
that's true.
The Red Sox had that for a little bit way back. So Alaric Jackson, he's starting caliber tackle. He's not an ace. Garrett Bowles.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I think he is. I think
he's top. Think he's top 15?
Not even top 50. I'm not going top 50. I'm not.
Oh, you're just saying he's down.
I'm just saying,
he's good enough. He's an elite. Yes.
Is he an ace? Is he elite? Yes. I think he is an elite left tackle. I think he is one of the best in the league. Ariante Ursary.
Yeah, I think he's a good player.
But is he elite? Is he like that
elite?
Guy?
No.
Trent Williams.
Yes.
Yeah. Orlando Brown.
Yeah, can be.
Yeah, I'll give him that one.
He's good. Yeah, he can be.
Deion Dawkins.
Yeah.
Is he still? He had a rough year last year.
Yeah. In the run game, can I say that? He's
okay.
When you add the way they run that football and the way he just throws people out the way, yeah, I give you that. But yeah.
Jake Matthews.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player.
He's a good player.
Rasheed Walker.
No.
He's fine. He's fine. But he's not like, I'd put him kind of in the same class as Will Campbell. He's a little older, but he's a solid starter. He's not going to wow anybody, but he's a solid starter.
And real quick, what you just said, I think is something you're going to notice when you get to the top 10 guys.
Right.
The age of a lot of these guys.
Calvin Banks. Calvin Banks, Will Campbell.
Same. I put them in the same category.
The young guy, yeah. Olu Fashanu, upcoming young player. Jordan Mailata is one of them ones. He's excellent.
Yeah, he's up there. He's top 10.
Charles Cross, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Bernard Raymond, it's fine. Patrick Paul in Miami.
Yeah,
struggled. He's okay.
Yeah.
Ike McQuan, who's been very up and down. Dan Moore, he's back. He's a fringe starter.
No.
Taylor Decker, old. He almost retired, right? Didn't they think he was going to retire?
He did and came back. Anyway.
That's right. Ronnie Stanley is a good player.
Yes.
Walker Little's a good player. Paris Johnson's up and down. He gets hurt. Andrew Thomas, Laramie Tunsil.
Yep.
Tristan Wirfs, good player. Cam Robinson. So those are the 25 guys played the most snaps at left tackle. We can keep going from there. There's only 2 more that played more than 500. Stone Forsythe and Tyler Guyton.
Yeah.
And that's it. Those are the only guys that played enough snaps to register. So we didn't even get to 32, because some teams split and things like that. Yeah. So it's hard to find that guy.
It's hard to find them. And the ones that are elite that you all love, all these guys are in their 30s because they come from a different era of college football where development of left tackles was a thing 10 years ago. So you see a lot of these guys, 33, 35 years old. Oh, these good dominant left tackles. Like, they don't develop them the same way. It's kind of like finding a modern throwback center in the NBA. They don't develop anymore. So when you have one, they're extremely valuable. If you get one that's decent or good enough for you, you hold on to them. And I think Will Campbell, everybody wants him to be Trent Williams. And it's like, if he's not Trent Williams, then go get another guy. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Deep safety is another position, just to tie to football. Like, we're never going to see another Ed Reed. Because they don't coach players to play it that way. And it's not a position that's considered, tackle's considered a value, but it's not. The development path of those positions is just completely changed.
The fullbacks, the Mike Allstotts, you're not going to see that anymore. They don't. Those guys with the big neck roll guy that can run and move, you don't see those anymore. And on the flip, you don't see the LeVar Kirkland-like defensive lineman at a 6'6", 300 pounds, but moving at middle. Excuse me, he was a middle linebacker as big as he was. You don't see that. So the game is changing. But I think the guy you have is good. And by the time he's Trent Williams' age, the mental games and the nuances of the game, he'll know that with time. Right. But it's not fair to judge a rookie compared to some of these other all-pro left tackles with a lot of, except for the Joe Alt of the world. Those are rare. Yeah. But Will Campbell, he hasn't got there yet, but I think he can get there.
Hopefully before he gets to 38, he figures that out. And
yes, I'm sorry. You know what I mean. But
we got to hit the break. We'll come back. Final segment coming up. Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Boys Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
For all your
To get to any around the league stuff, we got sidetracked on some Will Campbell revisiting the 2025 draft takes. Any non-Patriots free agency stuff that stuck out to you this week? The quarterback movement, the Max Crosby, I don't know, is fiasco the right word?
That Ravens thing, that was wild. I mean, I just jokingly was like, man, if you flip it around and say the Ravens traded Max Crosby for 2 first-round picks and signed Lance Hendrickson, it looks like the greatest offseason of all time.
Seriously.
But if you just how you look at it. But yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. But the one that's going to stand out for me the most is the Minnesota Vikings Murray situation. It's kind of intriguing. It's very intriguing.
That's one word for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The JJ McCarthy thing, does it mean they're announcing that they blew it, that they messed up on that? I mean, that one's going to be pretty weird, but everybody in Madden's going to be using Minnesota this year, so get ready for it.
Poor Justin Jefferson. Looking at that competition. And look, I think they're trying to do it. Remember last year with the Colts? They were Anthony Richardson. It was still like they want to give him a chance. And we all thought
good call.
We all thought Daniel Jones was washed. And look, who knows what he's going to be after the injury, right? But the idea was, well, if you can't beat out Daniel Jones, how good is he really? And then Daniel Jones was like an MVP candidate for the first half of the season. So it's probably the same thing, right? I think I'm lower on Kyler Murray than most people. I think the consensus on him is a little higher, but like if J.J. McCarthy can't beat out Kyler Murray, who I think is a fringe NFL starter, like he is starting caliber talent, but he's not somebody I think you want to tie your wagon to long term.
Yeah.
Or where he beats him out, and then you're back with that. Like it's been less than 2 years from maybe J.J. McCarthy should go second overall over Drake May and Jane Gay. That was an actual conversation people had. Time 2 years ago.
We both laughed at it.
In 2 years, we've gone from that to, gee Willikers, I sure hope he can beat out Kyler Murray for the starting job in year 3. I just like to remind everybody where the show stood on that matter.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes to show how many people actually don't really watch college football. Because the signs were there. The minute Michigan was winning, but the whole point was
they refused to give him the ball.
As long as we don't throw the football, we're good to go.
So, and look, I don't mean it to dump on J.J. McCarthy. I'll just do this rant because it's happening again with Ty Simpson, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Right. There needs to be another conversation. Another quarterback for the draft conversation makes sense. So the talking heads put this guy in a conversation where he doesn't belong. And then, the expectations are sky high where they shouldn't be. And then he just gets dumped on. Like, Ty Simpson's fine. J.J. McCarthy was fine. He realistically needed a couple years to develop. Yeah. But you can't take a guy 11th and then give him a couple years.
Yeah.
Or 10th. I think he traded up, whatever it was. So
whatever it was, yeah.
He gets put in a bad situation. Ironically, there's the quote going around from Kevin O'Connell this week something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but like franchises fail quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail franchises. You should have known what you were getting into with J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. And from J.J., from McCarthy's side, his agent, his family, if they're looking at their son's name climb the boards and they're seeing the hype, they're like, well, dude, of course you're going in. Go get paid. You're going to get paid as a starting quarterback. I don't blame him, his family, his representation, anything. It's not his fault. I mean, it's just it's us. I mean, it's the fans that did
not us on this show.
Yeah, not us. Right. We told you. We watch college football. We told you the deal was with him. But I mean, it's I feel bad for him. But hey, Kyler Murray, what are they paying him? $1.8 million or something like that. So he's on a show me situation. So we'll see how this one works out.
All right, that'll do it for us on this episode of Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. If you missed any of the show, you can find it. We stream it on the Sports Hub YouTube page. It also goes Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff wherever you get your podcasts. I'll have an episode of the Patriots Hub podcast dropping this week. We did individual episodes for all the signings during the week. You can go find those on the Sports Hub YouTube page and Patriots Hub podcast. We'll have another one, kind of big picture, coming this week. And also a little fun mock draft thing, because it is officially now draft season.
Yep.
And mock draft Mondays kick off tomorrow on 98.5thesportshub.com. So go check those out there. In the meantime, we got Joe Murray and Matt McCarthy coming up. Until the next one, Ryan Garvin, great job as always for Cerrone Battle. I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the game is on the Sports Hub.
Goes to the backhand and score! Two-hand slam!
Boston's home for